Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto Podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify, Apple, or Google, please leave a 5-star rating and review. It supports the podcast and it doesn't cost you anything. This content is brought to you by Uphold, which is a great crypto platform that I've been using since 2017, so I can vouch for this platform. They have over 10 million users, 250 plus cryptocurrencies, and they're available in 150 countries. You can also trade precious metals and equities on this platform. If you'd like to learn more, please visit the link in the description. Well, folks, we got some breaking news in the SEC Ripple XRP lawsuit. This is a big one. Breaking, Judge Torres denies the SEC's motion to seal the Bill Hinman documents. Wow, what a big ruling here, folks. Of course, we're waiting for the ultimate summary judgment ruling from Judge Torres to see who's going to win this. Obviously, I've been on the side of Ripple saying they have the higher probability of winning and that there's a lot of things that the SEC is trying to cover up and hide. They have no allegiance to the law, as Judge Sarah Netburn said, and they have been acting very shady, right? Trying to have it both ways with Hinman's documents. The SEC does not want these documents to see the light of day because there's so many internal communications and a lot of sweeping things under the rug. Obviously, we know the Ethereum Alliance free pass, right? Giving Ethereum a free pass, and there's probably a lot of mentions of XRP in there. And we know, once again, the SEC does not want this to come out because it's going to reveal a lot of corruption and a lot of backdoor dealings and under-the-table dealings with the Ethereum folks. So here's what Eleanor Terrett of Fox Business is saying. She said, so Judge Torres has denied the SEC's motion to seal the Hinman documents, which means they will eventually be made public. So what's next? According to my legal sources, immediate next steps will be both parties sitting down and sorting out the logistics of how and when the documents will be released. Will the SEC try and file an interlocutory, if I'm saying that right, appeal to the decision? Possibly, but it would be a long shot for Torres to grant such a motion, as this is a discovery issue. It's also extremely unlikely that she would ever grant a stay of her order, saying the documents must become public, even if the SEC did try to appeal. So now some more waiting. So we shall see, folks. This is very, very interesting. We got more folks weighing in. Attorney Jeremy Hogan says Judge Torres equals the people's judge. Rightfully so. Here, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse said, another win for transparency, unredacted Hinman emails to be publicly available soon. Stay tuned as the lawyers work through the mechanics to make that happen. So once again, folks, the SEC does not want these documents out there. And I would say Ripple has the SEC by the balls here. And, one of the things I've been saying is that in the summary judgment or the conclusion of this lawsuit is that Ripple will, I think, have to pay a fine for what took place in the early days, maybe 2015. But the fact is, XRP today is not a security, and any secondary market sales are not securities, and so on and so forth. So Ripple will get the clarity and XRP will get the clarity, but I think they will have to pay a fine for the past. But I think this is one item that thoroughly exposes the SEC's shady activities. Now, attorney Fred Rispoli, who I've had on the podcast, shared his thoughts. He says, very hot take. The summary judgment ruling is obviously written, maybe completely finished, maybe some final touches left. Been saying any day now for a while, but it's really any day now. Also, nothing amazingly unexpected in this ruling except for Hinman email's decision. Although this is good and bad news, in my opinion, a complete Ripple win would have given Judge Torres an out to not order production. Same goes for the SEC. Doesn't automatically mean neither can win outright, but as I have predicted, still think that these are both low probabilities, could compel the SEC to settle. Yes, I think the cat's out of the bag on these documents, and eventually some enforcement case would have gotten them publicly disclosed, if not here in Ripple. But the tone of this ruling is pro-Ripple, so let's hope that carries into the summary judgment ruling. Really great thoughts here, and folks, You may hate Ripple, you may not own XRP. That is completely fine. You may hold Cardano only, or you may hold Algorand only, or HBAR, right? Or whatever else altcoins, or Pepe coin. But the fact is, we need clarity in this market. We don't have it, and the SEC is operating like the mob, going around and shaking down companies for fees, and they don't want to put out the clear regulations. So we're dealing with a lot of shady activity. And like I said, Judge Sarah Netburn called out the SEC and said they have no faithful allegiance to the law. Just last week in the Coinbase amicus brief, the Chamber of Commerce said what the SEC is doing with the crypto market and businesses is unlawful. So you have these third-party folks in the courts and in the advocacy groups for businesses calling out the SEC, which is supposed to be an institution that has integrity, that's supposed to protect investors, but they are corrupt at their core. They have fallen far from their core mission of protecting investors. Now, Stuart Al-Arati, regarding the Coinbase brief, Coinbase is obviously suing the SEC, said, found a typo in the SEC's brief. They refer to their active regulatory and enforcement agenda in crypto. Think they actually mean active regulation by enforcement agenda. Don't think any of us recall seeing the SEC's crypto regulatory agenda. So these are the things we need to call out, guys, and we got to tweet and we got to contact our representatives. It's important to call out the bullshit, the lies, and all these discrepancies that the SEC is operating under. Now, attorney Jeremy Hogan weighed in on the Coinbase response as well. He said the Coinbase writ, which is the writ of mandamus, was never about getting an answer to whether the SEC will fairly regulate crypto. That's obviously a no. This was a Coinbase offensive against the SEC lawsuit against it coming this summer, and it got some interesting tidbits to use. He says here, trial work is not really about the law. I mean, you use the law, but the idea is always to make your client look like the good guy and the other side, the bad guy. Juries will also help the good guy. That's what Coinbase was after, and I think it got some stuff it can use. So clearly showing Gensler saying, oh yeah, 10 to 20 years to make rules, right? Which is asinine and all kinds of nonsense that they're not going to work towards any type of regulations, which is ridiculous. Like, do your job, right? You're taxpayer funded. So it's interesting, and their SEC is getting called out here. Now, regarding Coinbase, here we got news that they're expanding to Singapore, or expanding their Singapore services amid the international expansion drive. So they continue to build and expand worldwide. And of course, they're facing a lot of issues here in the United States, and we're seeing a lot of companies do the same. Some are outright leaving the United States and going to other jurisdictions where they have the green light, they have clear regulations, and they're not dealing with a corrupt scumbag regulator, Gary Gensler. So Coinbase is adding new USD-related staking services for Singapore customers. The news comes with the company pursuing international expansion as U.S. regulators put pressure on crypto outfits. Now, Library, we all know yesterday the news was the SEC reduced their fine from $22 million to $111,000, but they put the company out of business, right? And they're still trying to scrape whatever they can. And here, the folks at the Library called out the hypocrisy of the SEC. They said the SEC repeatedly cited a single sentence from an unpaid volunteer moderator in our community chat as evidence that LBC was a security. Meanwhile, the SEC argues in their Coinbase filing that even statements from senior staff of the SEC about securities law don't mean anything. And of course, they said, any statements by Chair Gensler should not be taken as any type of law or guidance, which is ridiculous. That's the chairman of the SEC, and you can't listen to him. You can't take anything he says. So that means, outright, we shouldn't even listen to this man, anything that comes out of his mouth, because they can switch it up anytime, right? They're making this stuff as they go. They're probably in the back room shredding documents, Hinman documents, using whiteout Photoshop to probably change things. That this is what we're dealing with. And here's another example of the lies and corruption. Remember Gary Gensler in the hearing, how he was alluding to the bank collapses and that we've been seeing with Silicon Valley Signature and so forth, that they were related to crypto, right? He tried to paint that picture, and even Senator Elizabeth Warren has been doing that. Well, here's another example of that thesis and that lie being exposed. Former Silicon Valley chief blames the Fed media hype for banks' devastating collapse. Notice he doesn't mention anything about crypto. He specifically highlighted the Fed rate hikes, the rapid rate of those rate hikes, and social media with people talking about, bank runs and so forth. Right, essentially, the news was spreading like wildfire on social media. But I tweeted that out and I said, but according to corrupt liars, Gary Gensler and Senator Elizabeth Warren, it was crypto that caused it. This is why you need to tweet. This is why you got to contact your representatives. This is why you got to make content, folks. They are outright lying and they don't care. They're making up anything. They're putting out their propaganda. They don't care about the truth or the facts, folks. And this is why, many of you who follow me on Twitter, anytime Gary Gensler tweets out anything, I go and I reply about his corruption, his lies, and I highlight what Judge Sarah Netburn said and what the Chamber of Commerce said about the SEC. They have no faithful allegiance to the law. We have to get the truth out there. We got to get people to recognize what's happening and what we're dealing with here. Now, here's some crazy news coming out of Ledger. Many of you know I use the Ledger hardware wallet. I've been using it for years. I'm a big proponent and fan of it. I've been able to securely keep my crypto. Obviously, you have your private keys, right? And if that device gets lost, you can recover and so forth. Well, folks are not happy about a new feature that was released, and Ledger is getting hit from left and right. And I honestly still have to go through all the details here to make sure this is not exposing or opening a door for our funds and so forth and our private keys to get hacked. So here, Pascal Gunter, who's the chairman and CEO of Ledger, tweeted out, "Today, we're proud to announce Ledger Recover, an upcoming and optimal service for users who want to fully secure backup of their secret recovery phase. I've been in Bitcoin since 2014 and invested in Ledger the same year. I've always believed in uncompromising self-custody and security. This will never change. And that's what Ledger Recover is all about, a product that you can choose if you want to use it, so it's optional. There is no auto opt-in with firmware updates. Your ledger is and will remain as secure as ever. It's your choice to manage your assets by yourself, or you can have a backup with Ledger Recover. That's the ethos of self-custody. Ledger Recover brings a peace of mind backed by the best security in the industry. No company has and will have access to your funds, including Ledger. To make self-custody accessible to everyone, we must develop innovative products that maintain security while solving concrete hurdles for users. That's what Ledger Recover is all about." So here's what some folks are saying. Here's what Chainlink God had to say on Twitter. "Ledger, the company that has experienced multiple security breaches that exposed the personal information of hundreds of thousands of its customers." Now, I was one of those customers. Now wants you to export your private keys from your hardware wallet and give fragments to them. CoinCover and an unnamed third party where any two can siphon funds. And to facilitate recovery, they need you to dox yourself and give even more of your information, allowing anyone with your identity documents, example from other data breaches, to take your funds. This seems poorly thought out. So here's the thing. I need to get more information, but this sounds bad, on its face, right? And once again, I need to validate it, but it sounds bad because you're opening up yourself to more centralization and people being able to get your private keys. And I'm not saying that's actually going to happen, but I don't think this is a good idea. The good thing is it's not an auto opt-in, right? You can choose not to opt in. So the Chainlink God continues here saying, "This is the same company who promotes wearing your hardware wallet as a necklace so you can effectively become a walking target for exploitation." That was pretty dumb, by the way. "No, this isn't an April Fool's joke. It's a real product offering, just insanity." Now, once again, we need to get more information, but on its face, this is not looking good, man. And I will let you guys know because once again, I'm a Ledger user And I'm hoping there's no backdoor or anything that's opening up here that can expose my private keys. That will be, I mean, oh my God, incredibly bad. I can't imagine, you get your funds stolen that way. When you're taking the most secure way of, storing your crypto. But stay tuned, folks. Just be aware of this. I highly recommend, if you have a Ledger device, that you also go read up on this and, come up with your own conclusions. Like I said, I'm going to investigate. I'll try to get some of the folks from Ledger to come on the podcast and talk about this. But I'm not too sure I like this. This makes me a little bit uneasy, right? But I'll get more information for you guys. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about the news. Obviously, big news with this SEC Ripple lawsuit, and the Judge Torres is denying the SEC's motion to seal the Hinman documents. And boy, I can't wait to see what's in those documents. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button, share this video, share the podcast, and I'll talk to you all later.